It's the rock music, the Sports Card Strategy Show, episode 50. Congratulations.
We did it. Dude, why didn't you tell me my thing was a mess over here?
Oh, you look great, man. You're in the number one host slot on the left, and I'm on the right today. This is
You
nice.
know what that means? It means I showed up early.
You showed up early. You beat me here, which is awesome. Monday.
We're both busy days, dude. Both of us have incredibly busy days. That's why we are on a different time schedule today than normal. So maybe we'll have some different dudes. Maybe we'll have some people coming in here we'd have never met before.
Yeah, usually when we switch up the times, we get some different peeps, and it's exciting to welcome some new listeners to the stream. And Monday, October 3rd, great to see you, and great to talk sports cards.
Let's go, man.
For those of you who don't know, I'm Paul Hickey with nooffseason.com, and he's Kendall McKee with Wild Cards on Facebook. And they do some box breaking of all sports, but he also is with justbaseball.com and nooffseason.com, of course, my regular co-host here on the Flagship Show. And yeah, we got a lot to talk about today, and want to know from the audience what you think of the show, what questions you have for us. So jump on in here. We're going to get right back to you. Kendall, before we get started, I just want to remind everybody that if you're not already a premium member at nooffseason.com, you can go premium free for a year. Just email me at paul@nooffseason.com to find out how. I'm going to hook you up. And of course, to our current premium subscribers, I'm going to hook you up as well. So feel free to email me also.
Hook you up.
Hook you up. Something nice. You got anything to say before we jump right into L of the week? I know sometimes you have a little commentary or something on your mind.
Not today.
Not today. All right, we'll get into it. So L of the week. My L of the week is people who are overcomplicating sports card investing. And I say this from a helpful standpoint. I don't mean to be critical. So I may come across as critical, and I'm just going to preemptively apologize for that, because a lot of people are new to sports card investing. I kind of knew this would happen. I was new a couple years ago, and I could kind of see the trend of, people in their late 30s, early 40s like me coming into the hobby and the business of sports card investing after finding their old sports card collection, kind of being rejuvenated from when they were a kid. And there's a lot of learning going on, which is great. And so I don't mean to be critical, because I have learned by doing a lot of wrong things, sometimes on purpose, sometimes not on purpose, over the last 2 years. And one of the things that is the biggest takeaway for me is that actually, to make money on sports cards, it's very, very simple. We talk about it a lot on the show. It's buying at the right time and selling at the right time. And then picking the player and picking the sport is in line with that. Like it all has to go together, but timing is the most important thing. And so I think I'm going to give a specific example of my L of the week, because I got much love for our audience, and I really just want to help everybody as best as I can. And one of our audience members sent me this video to look at. I'm going to share my screen. And for those of you who are listening, this is a video by sports card investor Jeff Wilson. And as many of you know, like, we're partners with Sports Card Investor. I write 2 weekly articles for their website as a guest contributor, and they're obviously we're an affiliate partner for their marketmoversapp.com product. And you can use the promo code NOOFFSEASON if you want to get your first month for only $1. They put out a lot of great content. This video with Brett Oppenheim from the Oppenheim Group is an example of a great video that they put out. Here's why it's my L of the week. And you can go to this video and you can read my exact comment. But essentially what I'm saying is that this video is far better entertainment than it is an actual sports card investing strategy. The reason why I believe this is because This guy, Brett Oppenheim, is obviously very intelligent businessman. He knows what he's doing in terms of investing. He probably knows what he's doing in terms of sports card investing. He's talking about vintage soccer being the next great way to spend your money in sports card investing. The danger here is that he's taking a lot of data from a lot of different places, and he's making a big assumption that this is going to be the case. And he's somebody who reeks to me of someone who hasn't really ever sold sports cards. Like he hasn't really ever gotten down into the weeds of flipping sports cards. And the reason why I believe this is dangerous is because you can't look at the sports card market, see the graphs and charts, and all of a sudden equate the sports card market with other markets and the way that other markets have moved. It's just not the same thing. Sports cards, they are liquid, but they're not as liquid. You actually have to be able to sell them, which is a whole other thing than buying them. And so if you're looking at all this data, this historical data like Brett's doing in this video about, like, for example, I'm going to shorten it for you. He looks at the size of the fans of global soccer. He looks at the size of the fans of the other major sports. He looks at some transaction history in soccer, looking at like narrowing things down to like the top 100 cards and the top 100 cards from the NFL and the top 100 cards from the NBA, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then he makes assumptions that vintage soccer is going to be movable in the way that these other sports have been movable. And Kendall, you and I have seen really the only players that have true markers for whether or not they're going to move up or down consistently are active, ultra modern players. And sometimes guys like the LeBron James and the Tom Brady's of the world that are still active GOATs. So I think it's very, very dangerous for people to jump on these types of videos. And I think this guy's just overcomplicating sports card investing. He wants to buy cards. He wants to sit back and he wants to watch the graphs and charts move up and to the right. And I just don't think that the world of sports card investing works this way. I think you have to work to earn your money. You have to work to understand what cards are going to move up and down within the next 6 to 18 months and why that's going to happen. And then you have to be willing to be active in the market consistently, like a day trader is on the stock market, to actually make money and get your money out at the right time so that you can reinvest. You can't just treat sports card investing like a mutual fund or a 401k where you just set it and forget it and assume that it's going to move up. I just don't see it that way. So that's my L of the week. I'm going to shut up and let you comment on that and tell me what your L of the week is.
I mean, I think that goes really closely with the new collectibles guru stat that I shared with you today or yesterday. There's like reason number 652 that I'm bullish on soccer cards. PSA graded more 2019 Prism basketball cards, and they graded 626,000 plus in the 2019 Prism than all soccer cards combined, which ended up being a little under 600,000. So, of course, we've gone over these statistics are kind of just flashy rather than like there is a narrative being said here, but you know, it's kind of like they're just comparing like wild things to get interactions, which which is that's his game. I get it. But I think this is a little bit about the same topic about what you're talking about. The only thing that I would say that is different than what you said was if you are investing in vintage sports cards, for the most part, people that are in the sports card market, especially from the last year and a half, are very new traders. They're retail traders. They've come in and they realized that they had some cards that, and for the first time ever, guys that did nothing but watch Sports Center for like the last 20 years of their lives now have this inside track into understanding the world of sports and which players are going to be valuable. And so you've got these guys that are flipping Zions and, you know, Trevor Lawrence and these ultra modern cards because there's other people that are in that same vein, and it's kind of just like passing money around. Like no one's actually making money. They're just passing it around, I guess, if that makes sense. But then from an investment perspective, you kind of with the vintage, I think like we're using the same word, but I don't think it's the same thing. Like vintage investing is like that's a different person
Yeah.
than the flippable guy. So like for instance, when we're talking about most of our clientele, Paul, other than like Paul Fisher, is basically like in probably the 50 to 500 range per card. Like I would say if you're investing in vintage soccer cards in the way that this video is presenting itself, you're probably investing in the way megas, and so I
That's
can
probably
see
fair.
I can see how if you're investing in the mega stuff, you're just trying to have some sort of asset that won't lose value. Like I think that's the point they're trying
Okay.
to make, rather than
Yeah.
like, yeah, you're gonna make it big by investing in this Pele card, but you have to pay, 15 grand to get it or something. It's like, okay, well, that's like probably 75% of the people that watch these videos probably don't have that to move.
Yeah.
And so it's just like you said, it's entertainment at that point
I
because
think it's
you're
great entertainment. It's great data. And I don't mean to slam. I think you bring up a great point, Kendall. Like it's a different thought process. And I think it's dangerous to cross over. It's dangerous to sort of not know who you are.
yeah.
And then it's cool to figure out who you are. Like take as much time as you need figuring out who you are. But if you don't know who you are yet, like don't go buy any of this vintage soccer stuff based on this video. I think these guys would tell you the same thing.
Yeah. Like I mean, we almost need like oh, here's a good segue. It's almost like we need portfolio consultants.
Yes.
Almost. But that's a little, I'm spilling the tea a little bit there.
Yeah, so what I think you made a great point, kind of complimenting but like offsetting appropriately what I was talking about with my L of the week. It's just my L of the week is just don't just like take all of this data and get paralyzed by it, and also don't take this data and like think that it's actually going to work this way, because I'm not confident that it is. I'm far more confident that what Kendall and I put out on this show, there's a whole reason why nooffseason.com is focused around ultra modern. And it's because my confidence level is very, very high, helping our audience make money off of the ultra modern plays. And the reality is, on the vintage plays, there just aren't enough liquid transactions consistently up and to the right all the time for me to be like, okay, this is definitely going to continue to move in this direction. I just don't know, I just don't know it as well as some other people do. So I'm not as confident in it, and I'm not going to endorse it. Like if somebody comes to me and says, should I buy vintage soccer? Because the global markets, because all these other things outside of sports cards, yeah. I'm not going to necessarily endorse it. So that's all I'm saying, is be careful with it. So Ian Wingate's jumping into the show saying nobody actually listens to this guy, right? I hope he's not talking about me. Maybe he is. Ian, thanks for joining the show, man. We would love any feedback, positive or negative or constructive, that you may have. But definitely a new name here, and we love the new names joining the show. So thanks for hopping in, my man. Kendall, what else you got for us?
My L of the week was simply the Tua injury. Like the way that happened on Thursday Night Football, and the way that it happened, like when they just showed it over and over and over, like it was an ugly look for multiple franchises. Like it was an ugly look for the Dolphins. It was an ugly look for Amazon. It was an ugly look for, there was just the doctors that already one's been fired, all that. And so like it was an ugly look for a ton of people. I really feel for Tua. And like that's a scary injury. It's brought on by two head injuries happening really close to each other. And I'm not speaking as a professional in the medical field, but I am knowing that like when you see something like that on a quarterback that's already had a lot of speculation of injury, you're going to see a massive dip in his market. I think it'll remain to be seen what so when they come out with like when is Tua going to be back type thing, I think that'll determine how far his drops is. Like I think right now people are not selling because they're like, okay, I know it looks bad, but like he could be back in 2 weeks.
Totally.
But
Yeah.
but like what if the news comes out where it's like, yeah, he's having, like you hear about people that like can't ever focus again or something like that. Like what if that's some of his issues and he never plays football again? I mean, that's still a possibility. Not a likely one, but still a possibility. And so I think if that news were to come out, or whenever the news does come out, I think no matter what, I think we do see a drop into a cards, and that's an L of the week. Now previously I did have a ton of money invested into it in like 2020, and then I lost the bag completely and had to sell just to recoup some stuff because I was way underwater in 2021. So I've been there before and been burnt by to an injury in the past. And so I'm just feeling for people that reinvested in him this year, thinking he was going to be great. They didn't sell in week 1, 2, 3, like we told you, like we said to, and now they're just holding to a cards, praying that he's not out for life. So that's an L.
Totally, it's an L. I'm glad that was your L. It's sad for Tua, sad for the Dolphins. Hopefully he can come back. I think that the play, if you are holding Tua cards, is to hold and then to sell as soon as it's announced that he's going to start a game, or as soon as he comes into a game. Like immediately list all your cards for a 99-cent auction. 99-cent auctions work. Like I'm not saying that the card will be. I'm not saying that you'll even lose money on your card by giving you the 99-cent auction feedback, but I wouldn't like play around with the buy it now, best offer thing. I would just be like, as soon as there's an announcement that Tua is going to start a game, or as soon as he comes in the way Kenny Pickett did off the bench yesterday, I would go ahead and move.
Yeah, that worked out for you, huh?
Right away. So yeah, exactly. So Ian, thanks for saying that. That is Jeff and not myself. We do love Jeff. I don't know who listens to him and who doesn't. I think he puts out good content, but I'm not sure that he's always looking for giving the best investment advice, so much as I will say that it does seem like he's trying to talk to celebrities who are in sports cards and maybe be a mini celebrity himself, which is fine.
Yeah,
there's nothing wrong with
that. He's a content creator.
Good for his business. He's a great content creator. So appreciate that. Okay, my W of the week is my PSA submission. I like to share these on the show because I think it's interesting content to share, some transparency around grading submissions, right, Kendall? So I submitted 39 cards to PSA I took them to the mailbox on August 1st, but I filled out my form on July 31st, the day that I got back home from the National. And that triggered me the discount, the $18 per card discount.
My gosh, bro, you had some grades.
So the W of the week are the grades. So I got 24 10s out of 39 cards to PSA.
That's awesome.
And the rest of them were 9s. So 24.
Now tell the people where you picked these up.
Oh yeah, so shout out to Texas Roadshow Shop at the National. I picked like 90% of these cards were from the National. So I made a comment to Kendall. Kendall and I hung out like 2 days straight. It was a great time. And I picked up a bunch of these cards with Kendall, and I made a bunch of comments to him about how thrilled I was to actually hold cards in my hands, because I live in Spain and I don't have the opportunity to actually hold cards in my hands. I'm a vaulter at PWCC currently. So holding these cards in my hand, I'm not the best at understanding what's a gem mint versus what's an 8, And so Kendall's much better at that. And Chase Krim is much better than probably both of us at that, because he and his brother Cody run Texas Roadshow cards. And so I got most of these cards from their booth, not all of them, but probably the biggest notable card is the 2019 Panini Contenders Jordan Poole Ball at Chest Autograph Premium Edition, which Kendall commented to me. We'll have to have Chase on. He watches the show and comments often, and he's been a guest on the show before. So not sure if he'll come back on as a guest, but if he does, we'll have to ask him about this. But Kendall's guess was that anything that's sold raw, he probably he wouldn't grade, right? In fairness, you said he wouldn't grade. Now, that doesn't mean that it wouldn't be a 10, but it's just something that he wouldn't grade. So Kendall and I kind of thought that this Jordan Poole would not gem, but it did. So I'll take it.
Even Krim thought it wouldn't gem.
Okay, I didn't know that. So maybe you talked to
That's how you got a discount on it.
Okay. So Krim, I don't know, man. I don't know if it backfired or if this went to some PSA grader that doesn't know what they're doing, but either way, it got a 10. I'm really excited about that. So I don't know if this is going to be, I bought it for $300, which was the discount that you alluded to. I think at the time it was going for over $400 raw on eBay. So it was a significant discount. I knew it was a good deal. I didn't think it would gem. None of us did. Now that it did, I think this could be a $1,500, $2,000 card potentially if I sell it at the right time in the right manner in an eBay auction. So we'll see. But yeah, I mean, the other play that I won't walk you through all of the cards here, but the other play generally was that I found cards in the dollar bins, base rookies of quarterbacks and even Jamar Chase, but a couple Trevor Lawrences, a couple Justin Fields, a couple Trey Lances. And then I even had some Panini hoops that I had opened, just cheap blaster boxes of hoops that I had opened. And then I had some Bowman 2022 product that I had opened for fun that Kendall recommended to me as an investment. And I still have 3 sealed boxes. So basically that's kind of
what you got a 10 Ellie? That's sick. Two of them.
Two 10 Ellies.
That's awesome.
One 10 Max Muncy. The Henry Davis Lava got a 9, but again, that's just a couple Julio Rodriguez, not the firsts, but Julio Rodriguez has got 10s and he'll sell, right? All my Wanders got 10s, which, one in here, one Dansby Swanson in here, that's Max's. That's my son Max's. So that's just to keep as a PC thing for him. But yeah, just really excited about the 10. So my play was I'm gonna get these cards thrown into deals. So I'm either gonna get them for free or for $1 in a dollar bin. I know that I can submit them for $18. These are all going for between $65 and $100. If they 9, I'm basically gonna break even. If they gem, I'm gonna make $40, $50. So I think I can sell all these at the right time and make some money one at a time on all these. So thanks to Ian. Thanks to Ian for the love on the gem rate. He said he got 20 cards, 17 10s. Nice work, Ian. Yeah, you and I both did well.
I hope mine comes back like that.
Yeah, we're hoping for you too, Kendall. That's great. And then Greeny Green, good to see you on the show back, my man. Yeah, actually, Greeny Green, I'm glad you said that because that's exactly right. That's the other reason why I wanted this to be my W of the week is because super fast return time. Like this is super encouraging to me. Like the order arrived at PSA at the end of August. It was graded 1 month later and then shipped the next day. So like this, essentially what I would consider a 1 month turnaround time. I was without my cards for 2 months. So it took them 1 month to get them entered into the system, and then another month to grade them and get them back to me. 39 cards at the July special $18 a card level. That's pretty good considering where PSA was a year ago.
Yeah, I love that. That's super cool. So just to bounce off of that, I sent 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different PSA submissions in July. And 2 of them will be arriving today. So that'll be fun. And I'm the kind of person who doesn't look at the grades the email thing that you just opened up. I don't even open it. When it says shipped, I'm like, cool, I'll just see it when I rip up in the box, so
that's patience right there. That is
we will
patience.
see.
I can't do that. See. I'm ready to just look at my grades. What about you guys? Let us know in the comments if you're looking at the grades right away or if you're waiting like Kendall does.
So my W's of the week are encouraging to see. What did that say? I plan on sending about 50 cards. Yeah, they do have another deal open right now. Pretty great deal, actually. I think they were so successful at the turnaround times, and then they were with the amount of people that submitted July deals that now they're just let's just keep cranking out some money. So, additionally, my W's of the week have to do with sales. I told you guys a million times that Indy Rodriguez is the guy you're gonna want to buy, and I stuck with that. I have a little under $1,500 invested in Indy Rodriguez, which doesn't sound like a lot compared to some things, but that's over 7 different cards. One of which being an out of 5, one of which being an out of 25, one of which being out of 50, one of which being a sapphire chrome, and then a couple of base autos as well. So, like, I mean, I went pretty hard into the exact advice that I was giving you guys. But I decided to, since he peaked this week, or not peaked this week, but since there was like, it's just up and to the right with Indy Rodriguez, I said, okay, I'm going to recoup some investment. So in July, when he got promoted to AA, I was like, this dude is electric. So I posted on one of my pages, who has Indy Rodriguez? I want to buy a big card, because I had an out of 5 and I had an out of 25. A guy with an out of 50 reached out to me. It was super crisp and clean. And he was like, here you go, man. I'll give you this for $200. And I was like, okay, that's as much as I bought my out of 25 for a year ago. Okay, I still think I'm going to be able to make a decent return on that in the next year or so. Okay, let's do it. So I bought it, got it in. It looks so crisp and clean. But honestly, it was the one I was the most or least emotionally attached to, because I just had bought it. So I bought it right after the National. So I have had it for like a couple of months. And this week I was able to sell it for $750.
Yes,
just
let's
like
go.
From 2 to 750 to recoup a lot of my initial investment in the Indy Rodriguez cards. And it's up and to the right for him. Actually, Just Baseball just announced that he is the minor league hitter of the year. They just released their new top 100 prospects, and he's in the 40s, which I believe is just that's a lot of good press for a catcher. So a catcher being in the top 40s is legit. I'm just super excited about this guy. I hope a lot of you listened and ended up buying some Indy as well. He's my win of the week. He's probably still a buy of the week. No, I'm just kidding. I wouldn't buy him right now. I would wait until the off season, but definitely is a good. And then my other W of the week is that Gio Reyna didn't have such a bad injury as we thought. His last his last tune-up game for the World Cup, he came off in the 30th minute, unplanned substitution, and he immediately ran to the locker room with a soft tissue injury, which is what we've been scared of over and over and over. So they get in the locker room. It turns out that everybody was a little just more nervous than, everybody was more scared about it, including Gio, than they should have been. It's just he'll be out a week, and he's going to be back playing against I believe Sevilla is his next game. So which is part of his European circuit. So yeah, they want him. They believe he might be back for the Sevilla game, which is fun. So,
well, that's good news on the Gio Reyna front. Now I'm out of Gio Reyna, but you will like this. Your other guy, Andy. So my other PSA, my only remaining PSA submission that I haven't gotten back yet is a 3-card submission. It's already in assembly, and we've got a ND out of 499.
Nice.
First prospect.
Pacheco, love it.
I got a Pacheco
and that Max Muncy gold.
And the Max Muncy gold that I basically bought on the show over the summer in July.
That could be a huge submission for you.
That could be, if that Max Muncy gold comes back a 10, yeah, that would be huge.
Yeah, we're throwing a party.
If any of the 3 of these come back a 10, to be honest, it could be a big day.
Do you know what you have invested in those cards?
400 in the Max Muncy, 100 in the Pacheco, and I think the Endy was under 100. I mean, It was like I bought it when you told me to. I think 60.
Yeah.
I think.
And now his base autos are going for like 100-ish.
Yeah. So this is an out of 499. Which I listened to Kendall. So basically the only reason why I wanted to share that is because I did listen to you. You were right. I trust my partner and my co-host enough to do what he says. So I was excited about that. All right. So on my buy of the week, I've got This is a little bit of a risk for me because I'm not a hockey card guy, but I did actually update the hockey card rankings at nooffseason.com. And I'll show on my screen here what they look like. But the guy so I did a bunch of research on young guns, and this actually feedback came from the audience on this. And it was really good feedback. We obviously have a really intelligent audience. Thank you to all of you for contributing to the show and for writing in with your feedback, commenting on videos, emailing me, etc., tweeting at Kendall and I, at Lefty, McKee, at No Offseason Card. We want to hear from you. Somebody said, look more into the young guns because even though it's a base card, it's actually like a really valuable type of a base card. So I did my research. I'd love to know the audience feedback on this because, like I said, this is risky for me to go out on a limb like this because I'm not, I followed hockey as a kid. I followed it a little bit when I was living in Nashville. Went to some games there, some Preds games, etc. But Quentin Byfield is the guy that I think I like the most out of all of these hockey card rankings that I put at nooffseason.com. And I think the Quentin Byfield profile is what I like in terms of him being the number 2 overall pick in the 2020 draft and basically being this 6'5" center. I think I heard someone call him the O'Neal Cruz of hockey. I wish I could remember
That's funny.
Who said that. I want to say it was Tyler on Card Talk Pod, but I could be wrong. But I see Quentin Byfield's Young Guns here raw at like under $20. And I just think go out and buy Quentin Byfield Young Guns 2021 raw for $20 if you can get it. And then get them graded at PSA. And the data did show that it was down 30%. And the data that I look at is from marketmoversapp.com most of the time. And I also look at eBay, and I look at 130 point. So a lot of our data at No Offseason comes from 130 point because it covers eBay, PWCC, and MySlabs. And I know Market Movers pulls in from similar data sources. So that's my buy of the week. Going out on a limb, going hockey. I don't talk hockey that much, but I felt somewhat prepared to talk a little hockey today. So Quentin Byfield, LA Kings center, 6'5", number 2 overall pick a couple of years ago. He's my buy of the week.
Yeah, I like that. My buy of the week is I just put NHL cards because like Connor McDavid is low compared to where he was last year, and that's where I've been looking. My hopes and dreams of buying NHL cards live and die on Connor McDavid cards. Like I'm like, okay, I'll buy a Gretzky and then I'll buy a Connor McDavid, and I might go a little bit further and buy some of my favorite Wild players. But that's about it. I'm not gonna like invest deeply into a sport that I don't understand quite yet, and so I'm not going to really dive in further than that. But I do know that I've been watching these Young Gun cards as well, and that's the insert that people are wanting and looking for. And that's the one that you saw all over the National. When you looked at the hockey cards that were moving and being set in display cases and things, it was Young Guns. And so, or there was like the higher echelon of like the autos and stuff that were, and they have a lot of impressive
and those
autos.
seem to be super pricey too. Like
like the upper deck
you don't
autos
know
and
hockey
stuff.
well enough. It's kind of like be careful with the autos, right?
Yeah, that's like something that we wouldn't advise because we're just not there in our own personal like understanding of it. But the Young Gun stuff is the insert to move. If you can get those and then move them into a PSA, for instance, the PSA 10s of that card are going for like 120. And so, I mean, if you could move those into that, and the PSA 9s are coming back for about $40 to $50. Therefore, you're just getting out of the ones that are the PSA 9s, which is, I mean, honestly, that's still a good thing. Sometimes 9s can be almost the exact value of a raw card. So, back when we started really putting out the show, 8s were the equivalent of a raw card. And now it's almost more like you got, especially for super modern, it's like 9s or nothing, because the quality of the cutting, I know there's big issues with it, but we are much different place than we were, even 5 years ago in terms of the quality of the actual content that's being put out by the manufacturers. So I mean, there's just less cards that are or there's more cards that are like pretty close to pristine. So like you would think that the value of a 9 is going to go up because the pop count in that top echelon is higher. So it makes sense. But I put NHL cards, and then I also have seen, I saw several different Joe Burrow autos that are down 24%. Personally, I don't think Joe Burrow is done. And, like he's not done, not this year. And I don't think he's done long term. So I think Joe Burrow is a guy that you're going to want to be invested in the future. And their Bengals line is horrific right now. Him and Jamar Chase can't link up. I mean, they're not doing as well as they were previously, but Joe is still Joe Burrow, guys. Like he's still dicey out there. I mean, like some of the throws he was making in that Dolphins game were incredible throws, and that Dolphins defense is really good. And so it's just like Joe Burrow, if he's down 24% right now, like, and you're looking for a quarterback to buy into, he might be a good one.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, you'll hear us talk about like NFL buying season, NFL selling season, and like, we try to be very specific with like who is the exception to those rules. And so I think like during this NFL season, there are going to be some exceptions to those rules where there's some arbitrage. And I think Joe Burrow is a great example of that. So that's a great call. Greeny Green says Burrow and Chase prices dipped a bit, time to buy. I think we're in alignment with that, Greeny Green. I think Kendall and I are both in alignment with that assessment. We're talking about guys that are a little bit more proven than your typical flyer, And so I agree. Southern Soccer Idiot has a comment here. Welcome SSI to the Flagship Show.
You got to show us first one first. Show us first.
Okay, sorry. Yep, good call. His almost buy of the week tried to trade a PSA 10 Sapphire Haaland for a Leaf, 1 of 3, 6 game-worn patch card featuring Pele, Maradona, Zinedine Zidane, Messi, CR7, and Beckham. Couldn't get the guy to buy it. Wow, that's where Leaf comes. Yeah, that's where Leaf has like some crazy stuff. That's just like, okay, Leaf, I see what you're doing here.
Like Leaf, I don't want anything except for that 6-person auto of all the GOATs just in one freaking card.
Keep scrolling until you see that one. SSI adds he wasn't into soccer cards and didn't want to trade soccer for soccer. He valued the card at 800. Haaland selling over 1K, couldn't get him to commit. So what would you pay for that, Kendall? Like what? I mean,
800.
SSI. Yeah, like I would. So SSI, are you saying that he valued the card at 800 and you didn't want to pay 800? That's how I read that, but I just want to make sure.
Was this on like a Facebook page or a Twitter page, or was this on eBay? Let us know.
I don't know. Yeah, let us know, SSI. Thanks for the comment, man. Good to see you on the Flagship Show. This must be a better time for you on a Monday than our normal time. So that's good. All right. So my sell of the week is any Pen Pals auto or Panini Gold Standard auto or any new release of a 2022 NFL rookie. So like the Pen Pals insert that you will see in Donruss Elite. This is a Kenny Pickett insert out of Donruss Elite here that just sold for $405. Other good examples of this would be like your Desmond Ridders, like like any of these 2022 rookies. I would not be buying these cards. These are cards that, if you're into a break or if you love to buy some sealed wax and rip it, hobby box, and that's exciting entertainment for you, and you pull one of these rookies, quarterbacks or running backs or wide receivers, Breece Hall, Treylon Burks got injured yesterday, but even like a Garrett Wilson or a Chris Olave, I mean, I would be selling all of these. I would not be buying them. A couple of reasons why, guys. You may already know this, but the main reason why, it's not that these players aren't going to appreciate in value. Some of them may, like Desmond Ridder. I mean, he could blow up when he finally earns that job over Marcus Mariota, and he could be very good. But the problem is that there's going to be other releases, right? So these aren't the releases that are going to appreciate in value. You may have some collectors and some people who will PC these, but I think even those people will be smart enough to wait until the price dips on these cards before they buy them, I think. So I just would not buy these cards. So those are my sells. Sell now if you come across them. If you can flip them quick, more power to you. I'm not in a position where I can really flip them quick. So that's my sell of the week. Kendall, before we get to your sell of the week, we do have an answer from SSI. He was at a show and didn't. I see. At a show and didn't have the cash. That makes sense. Yeah.
Been there.
Tough one. That's a tough one. All right. Kendall, who are you selling for sure right now?
I have some, not flashy sales. Like, it's not like, I'm digging deep to find a guy that's up, 1,000,000% or something like that. Guys I sold this week, I did sell an Indy Rodriguez. I sold a guy named Jordan Diaz, which is an interesting prospect for the A's. He is at one of those Bowman Chrome autos that I bought for $5 and ended up selling it for $28. So it's like not a big, nothing huge. Nothing huge, but I was able to turn a Jordan Diaz for several X, which is good. That's what you want to do, no matter. Like, if you can pull yourself out of the dollar amount and you can look at the X factor on things, that you just want to be turning things for consistently more than you bought them for. That's the little name of the game here. So I was able to sell some prospects. Not really excited about him. I just knew that he was doing well in his call up for the A's, and nothing good is going for the A's. So, I was like, okay, people are probably excited about this one guy who's playing well. So, and they were, and they paid, I also talked about that last week where the guy offered me $15 and I couldn't figure out how to lower the price on the shipping. Well, I didn't have to lower the price on the shipping. Somebody ended up paying me almost double what he offered me. So, so
we get the bid worked instead of the offer.
The bids worked more than the offer. I was glad that I didn't, accept his thing. I'm excited about it. I shipped it off earlier today already. But I would say another sell, I'm curious about. There's a lot of preseason hype going back into Zion, and I'm like, that just makes me extremely nervous. But part of me also feels like it's not time to sell him, because I'm saying if you've held this long, the preseason hype is he's trending up. Like, he's definitely up over the last week, but like, if he starts playing well, those first couple of weeks of Pelican games and he's playing well, Zion will be everything people are talking about. Yeah. So for once in my career here at nooffseason.com, do not sell the hype on Zion right now, because I think there's a lot of hype going in right now, but I think this is pretty much just your down payment for what you're going to get in a couple of weeks when he destroys somebody on a dunk, because apparently he's looking fit. Apparently he's down a lot, so who knows? I'm not a huge Zion guy, but if you've held this long, you might as well hold another couple weeks. So, but I would sell, I think this is the last chance that you're going to get a peak price for Aaron Judge. He might not hit 62. And even if he does hit 62, we have seen that like the playoffs end up kind of coming down on some cards because less people are excited about their teams not in it and stuff like that. So you kind of see it coming down. I think this week is going to be the last week of peak sales for Aaron Judge. If you have Aaron Judge cards, go ahead and sell them. What me and T did was we bought a Aaron Judge PSA 10 rookie card last week, and we're going to sell it this week. So like, we're even going to make it on like a turn on this week. We hope to sell it for like a couple hundred more than we bought it for last week, which is great. But sell Aaron Judge and then sell Albert Pujols. Both of them are hitting massive monikers right now. I ended up getting a free Albert Pujols Bowman Chrome card. Somebody just sent it to me with a bunch of other cards I bought earlier this year because they're like, Albert Pujols is dead, basically. Well, now that card's worth $45, and so I'm listing that today. So be be shrewd, guys, and don't hold on to your cards. It's the only Albert Pujols rookie card I have, but I'd much rather have $45 than a piece of paper that I look at once every 10 years. So there you go.
That's well said. Don't be scared to sell. You can always buy back in, crystallize some profit. I agree with the Zion take. I agree with all of your takes there. I agree with the Zion take big time. I think that they're going to get him some return stats.
Yep.
They're going to make him look strong. They're going to make sure his stat sheets are very, very strong and that he appears in the top ESPN top 5 and the NBA top 5 highlights. They're going to make – I worked in the NBA, and I don't know everything that there is to know. But what I do know is that they are going to take every opportunity to make Zion look like the Zion that everybody expected him to be coming out of Duke as the number 1 pick. He's going to live up to all the hype for the first week of the NBA season. And then you're going to want to sell him, just like Kendall said. So what's up, Toa? Good to see you. Sorry, it's a bad football season to be a Sparty right now. I'm feeling the pain. That should have been actually my L of the week, but I'm just kind of too sore to talk about what Mel Tucker's got going on over there. But it's good to see you on the show, Toa. So yeah, let's get right into this. Is actually perfect timing because we got some audience Q&A coming in. I got some already queued up. So we're going to go straight into audience Q&A. So let's go straight to the question that just came in, which is from a Facebook user. I could look real quick and tell who this person is, but let's ask the question before I do that. Sell or hold Hurts and Lamar? Kendall, what do you think about this before I go?
Yeah, you're just kicking me while I'm down here. I've been telling you to sell Lamar Jackson for years. It looks like today they're going to have a press conference at 3:30, probably announcing his extension as a Raven. He's probably going to get paid bukus of money. I think that's going to be a ridiculous signing long term. But right now, like for instance, one of my buddies, Peter Apple from Just Baseball, tweeted the other day or texted us the other day. He's like, I think the Ravens are going to beat anybody, and I think they have a chance of winning the Super Bowl, and Lamar Jackson's going to win the MVP. And I was like, I don't know, dude. Like they just can't. Their defense is horrible. Their defense is giving up 35 points a game. Well, you ask, why does that pertain to a Lamar Jackson card? Well, Lamar Jackson card's value is going to go up the longer he's in the playoffs. And I don't think that the Ravens will be able to get that far if they're able to get there at all. Which is sad because he's electric, or he's playing really good. I'm willing to say that I'm willing to back up and be like, okay, I was wrong on Lamar. Paul can have this one. Football's not my sport anyway, so I'll concede. But I would hold Lamar. But I might sell Jalen Hurts because 4-0 season so far. They're looking really, really good. I think it's probably just a matter of time before something weird happens in the Eagles organization. So
Yeah.
I just don't trust the Eagles. So I would sell if you've got a nice profit share from your Hurts buy.
Yeah, this is a great question from Jason Miyazaki. So Jason, thanks for the question. Good to see you. I'm glad you're on the show, and hopefully you're enjoying the content. And so here's the way I would answer this. You have my permission to sell each of these guys ASAP for all of the reasons that Kendall stated. So I would for sure sell Hurts. I would consider holding Lamar, but I would be very, very ready to sell Lamar at any time. It's because of what Andy.
If the announcement today is the extension, I would sell today.
I agree. This is what Andy and I talk about a lot, and this is what Kendall and I talk about. This is what Andy and Carter talk about on the Football Card Quest. Like, the prices go up when this stuff happens, and then it plummets down when it's not super positive. So, like, if Lamar comes out, so let's say this announcement is the extension, and you don't sell. And he throws for 100 yards and gets sacked 6 times and only rushes for 60 yards, no touchdowns next week, which can still happen even in an MVP season. The card prices are going to go down, which sucks. So it's not going to go down a lot because it's Lamar. So I'm not trying to overreact here, but I'm just saying, like, Then if he does it again, or if he doesn't come out and throw for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns, then people are like, what's going on? And we saw the Ravens lose to the Bills, a game that they shouldn't have lost. He threw 2 interceptions. Like, people have a really short memory. It's you're only as good as your last at bat, especially in football, which is weird to say because you don't have at bats in football, but you guys know what I mean. Like,
And they both have pretty big matchups on Sunday.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
just
the Ravens are going to the Bengals.
I would
so the Lamar, Joe Burrow next Sunday night. You're going to really know what the Bengals are made of. Actually, you're going to know what both teams are made of. But then also, Jalen Hurts is playing Kyler, and so that's like the whole OU narrative there. Like all that to go on, and then but that probably benefits Jalen Hurts because I think the Cardinals are probably the most overrated team in the NFL. But anyway.
I mean, NFL's all parody, so it's set up to be the greatest soap opera in the history of the world. It's all parody, which means everything goes back and forth. So Lamar gets hot, Hurts gets hot, and then they're not hot for a while, and they get hot again. So if you want profit, sell now. If you want to hold because you want these cards throughout the remainder of the season and you're okay losing some profit, then you can hold. But I personally would sell both of those guys. I would have had them listed already. VJ, thanks for jumping in, man. You're at the end of the show, my man, but feel free to get a question in here and then go back and watch or listen after for sure, because we've already put up some pretty stellar content in this show, if I do say so myself. Thanks to Kendall. All right, so some other audience questions that I had come in. Matt Esterman asked about just getting back into collecting after a 30-year hiatus. Just found your show and I'm enjoying it very much. Do you have a show that talks about the different grading companies, comparing cost, turnaround time, and or ROI when going to sell? So that's one question coming in from Matt. He has another one here. We'll get to Greeny Greens also, but let's just give Kendall, why don't you give a brief overview of grading, since I know Wild Cards, if you email sales@wildcardstrading.com, you can get more information on their grading services through PSA. My short answer is PSA, PSA, PSA all the way. But Kendall, do you want to give a little bit more well thought out breakdown than that?
It used to be way harder to be able to defend PSA when all the stuff was going on, when there were cheaper options, when the time for when the the word is escaping me. Basically, the time where you put it in and it comes back to you. That time used
turnaround time.
Yeah, turnaround time used to be way more, significantly longer for PSA. Honestly, PSA, if you're looking for investing, hear me, investing, PSA is the only way you can go, unless you have, there's a weird sector of soccer cards that are like equally as valuable or way as much liquid in SGC slabs. And the reason that is because when PSA was down, SGC was the cheap option, or the fast turnaround, probably the most economic option at the time. And that's when soccer cards started hitting the trading system. So there's a bunch of nice soccer cards that are traded in SGC slabs. So like the bias of PSA to others in soccer is not as drastic as it is in other sports in relation to SGC. But I would say if you're submitting now, go ahead and submit to, and you plan on submitting more than 1 or 2 cards, get the silver membership from PSA and just continue to submit cards at $18 a card, and plus shipping and handling and insurance. But when you do that, like we just talked about earlier, Paul's getting them back in 60 days, and the turnarounds were all PSA 10s. Like everybody loves to hate PSA. They're just the beast that we have to work with. This is how our cards are going to get the most value and the most liquidity, and that's what we're really worried about. We're worried about getting your cards from $10 to $100 and as quickly as possible. And in that little clear case with a red logo, that's how you're going to do it. You can try to BS around some things and try to ask some other questions and be like, well, what if it's a CSG or whatever? I'm just saying those cards sit on tables all show and never get looked at. What I'm saying is our goal here at nooffseason.com is, can you put it on a table and it does not, you don't have to build a narrative around why that card is valuable.
Yeah.
And that PSA, you never have to build a narrative around. You might have to build a narrative around, like if it's an 8 or something like that, but that's your own prerogative. But if you're looking at just 10s across the board, PSA is the most valuable. Other than that, I would go BGS still. I would still say that is probably the second best Beckett grading. And then beyond that, I would just go SGC and then CSG on, but I would do CSG's counterpart. What are they called? CGC or something like that.
Yeah, CGC.
If you're doing Pokemon cards, I would do PSA or CGC. Those tend to be like pretty high, but I'm kind of out of my depth there. But if you're grading trading cards, not sports cards, then there are different options. But still, PSA slabs are selling in those cards as well. So
yeah, and it's easy to get confused here, Matt, because like as recently as like 6 months ago, maybe, give or take, SGC would have been in the discussion for if you want to do a quick flip and it needs to be in a slab in order to execute your plan. SGC would have made a lot of sense because they're doing some turnaround time on the $30 level or even $23 level through a bulk submitter. Like I know Slab Stocks and other companies have like cheap bulk submissions that you can get for lower than $30. They're doing it like in days, like 5 to 7 days, sometimes even at just like the regular level. So I still think that could be in play depending on who you are and if you know what you're doing. But like now, today on October 3rd, I would say PSA all the way because they are doing everything. They're doing cheap, fast, and quality. They're the number one reseller. You're not going to have to worry about that. If you need to wait a little bit longer, you're probably going to be okay because it's going to be in a PSA slab. So a little bit longer, meaning maybe a couple extra weeks, I think you're going to be fine. So unless you're really trying to pull off a sophisticated, very quick flip on a lower dollar card, that'd be the only maybe time I would consider anything other than PSA. There are other grading companies. So if you don't care about the resale value, like hockey, KSA, you know, there's all sorts of other things that, you know, collectors might want different slabs for, but then you're not targeting the mass market for investors. So, all right, we got some more questions. That was a good one.
we got some good questions in here.
Got some good questions. We'll go in order here. So, Greeny Green has a question about QBs. What is a good QB for investment with room for growth? Zach Wilson's an interesting one. I agree. I think his prices could rise. He is risky. He's risky, like, because he could tank real fast based on his play on the field. But his play on the field lends itself to injury as well. But then he's like catching touchdown passes on trick plays and doing the gritty that doesn't look half bad. So like he also, I could see him being like actually really having a super high ceiling. So super risk and reward. I actually really do like Zach Wilson. So that's a good call. Had this been, you know, everything in the last 18 months other than the last 4 weeks, I would have said Lamar Jackson 53 times, but now we're at a point where timing is everything, and we just talked about selling Lamar Jackson, so I wouldn't go there. I still think Patrick Mahomes, honestly, is like probably, other than Tom Brady, the QB that I would buy that still has room for growth, that has the highest floor. Like those two guys are the least risky, highest ceiling guys, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes. So, you know, hopefully that helps. I don't know, Kendall, do you have anything else you want to add to the QB discussion?
Yeah, I love Zach Wilson. A couple weeks ago, I said that I think he was the quarterback in the class that has the most room for growth right now. Basically, for Jets fans, they're just nuts. And then you also got the money behind all the hobby in the Jets. You know, like you've got the Gary V stuff going on. And if Zach Wilson if Zach Wilson's good, those cards are going to fly. He's very marketable. He does the gritty. He's going cougar hunting. Like there's all these stories that are around him. And all he did was show up and beat the Steelers this week, and his cards are already rising. So he beat a Kenny Pickett team, and people thought he was Jesus, so which is funny. It's a Mormon joke there. But Zach Wilson is just probably one of my favorite investments in the quarterback class right now. But if you're looking for a cheap option or a cheaper option than that, I would go Desmond Ridder. I think he gets a great chance this year, and I think he'll show out. He's done nothing but prove that he's a great quarterback. And Cincinnati was a small school, but look at where he did. Look what he did with that team. And when you look in the preseason, Ridder had a great preseason with the Falcons. The Falcons have a lot of offensive weapons out there. And Kyle Pitts is literally blocking on every play for Mariota. Can you imagine what he could do with Ridder and Pitts out there just going nuts? So
that would be awesome.
I think Ridder's my choice for an investable quarterback right now. I like Zach Wilson, but I would take Ridder's ceiling over that. So, that's my question, or that's my answer.
Yeah, and I agree with Kendall. I was actually going to say Desmond Ridder, so I'm glad I didn't, because Kendall beat me to it, which is great. I would clarify, because I did say 10 minutes ago that you shouldn't buy like his Pen Pals card or his Gold Standard card or any of the early releases. And I think it's going to be trickier to invest in Desmond Ridder. I kind of wrote about this in his profile at nooffseason.com. Basically, I think he's a great investment, but I don't think you should necessarily buy his cards until a few months after the base Don Russ comes out, because once the base Don Russ comes out, then you have some more investable sets. Then you have Prism that's probably not tracking to come out until the off season, maybe after the NFL draft sometime. So I like Desmond Ridder, but you're not really looking at, unfortunately, any opportunity during his rookie season to actually invest in him. I actually think the best time to buy Desmond Ridder is going to be, this is going to sound really weird, but it's really going to be like November of 2023, because the runway is going to be like, he's going to have investable cards that come out in July, and that's NFL hype cycle season, July and August. He's going to have the starting Falcons job at the latest August of 2023. At the very latest, he's probably going to have it this year, but at the very latest, he's going to have it potentially. That's another hype cycle. Then you're waiting to get through these early NFL season hype cycles until there's a dip in Desmond Ridder cards. Then you're buying Desmond Ridder. That's what I think. I could be wrong, but I do like him. All right, Joe Max says, sure you guys covered this in the past somewhere. Actually, we haven't. This is a good question. Other shows have covered this. I won't spend too much time on it because it's not like a super area of expertise for me, the tax implications from buying and selling on eBay. Here's what I'll say from my perspective. eBay has it's well documented online that if you, starting in the tax year beginning with 2022, if you have transactions totaling $600 or more as a seller from eBay, you should receive a 1099-K form to report this income to the IRS. That's pretty straightforward. In America, in the US, we'll only speak because we're US taxpayers. We can only really speak to that. I'm claiming all of my income from my eBay sales, which I think is the right thing to do. Now, I'm not a tax professional, so don't take this as tax advice, but I will tell you, I'm also, right or wrong, claiming expenses as a business on the cards that I do not sell and losses on the cards that I take a loss on. Because to me and my tax professional, who shall remain nameless, we believe that this is a business like any other business, to where you're buying.
Why did you say
you're buying, I don't know what I made Kendall laugh. You're buying inventory, right? So if you're an e-commerce store, you're buying inventory. That inventory counts against your cost for your business. So
does your tax professional work for the mafia? Like,
I'm not going to reveal my tax professional, is all I mean. All right, let's keep moving because we got a limited time on the show today. All right, what else does Joe Mack say? Off that topic, I do an exceptional amount of lonely walking. He's a postman. Sweet. Your podcasts are Monday.
All right.
Monday, sunshine on the rainy days, great chemistry, perfect balance of personal and pastime investment combos. Thank you so much, Joe Mack. That's very nice of you to say.
Thanks,
Really
Joe.
appreciate it.
Shout out to Joe.
Shout out, Joe. Welcome to the show, Joe. You're welcome anytime. Lefty, more info on the Andy Rodriguez sale. I'm going to look up who this is on our Facebook group while you answer this question.
I don't know what info that you would like other than I sold it in 5 minutes. So there was an interesting story. And if this is who I think it is, it's a reason
Jason,
why.
by the way, Jason Miyazaki.
Okay. It's not who I thought he was. But so, Jason, there was an interesting story. I reached out to a guy that's on one of the Facebook posts that I see. His name's Tyler Gregory. He sells a ton of Bowman cards, literally tons of Bowman cards. And he was like, hey, I'm buying Bowman. Like, got a lot. Like, hit me up if you have a card that you'd like to sell. So I just hit him up and I said, I have an out of 50 Indy. I'd love to sell it. The last sold was like 765. I'd love to sell it for 700. I know you got to make profit, and this card is going to continue to go up. And he said, no, thanks. I'm closer to like 400 on it just because I'm a little bit, I'm fearful of something. I don't know. He was trying to make some excuse that I didn't think was good enough. And I said, no, I'm not going to sell it for 400. Not even close to that, actually. I'm not going to even entertain a counter offer. I'm just going to go post it on eBay. And that's what I told him. So I posted it on eBay for $1,000 out of 50. Got an offer of $750 within 5 minutes and press sold. So I told myself that I was going to take anything over 700, and 750 was what he offered me. So actually he offered me 700. I countered with 750, thinking that he would be able to take, I was okay with 700, but wanted to see if I could get 750 out of it for taxes and stuff for the little fees. Try to get a little more of that back. Yeah, so that's cool. The whole story.
All right, love it.
Bought it for $200. So
we're going to go rapid fire on the last questions here because we got to wrap up the show. Thanks everybody for watching and listening. So another question from Matt Esterman. He says, how to determine approximate selling price on a graded card based on what I can find at a higher or lower grade. For example, I have a Holland 2020-2021 Topps Chrome Blue Sapphire PSA 8, but can only find 9s and 10s on eBay sold listings. Trying to find what a good selling price on this would be. The recent purchase is also $18.20 is me. Also, the PSA 8 is a Pop 8, whereas PSA 10 is a Pop 64, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so I'm going to kind of cut this short and just say, Matt, this is a great question. We appreciate it. I think you've done essentially the right sort of process for this. I think that the thing is that 8s are going to be significantly lower than 9s, and 9s are going to be significantly lower than 10s. So you're talking like 8s are typically 20 to 30% of what a 10 sells for. And like Kendall kind of said earlier, like 8s typically around what a raw, I mean, like 8s used to be what a raw sells for. Now it's kind of 9s what a raw sells for. So 8 is not a very desirable grade unless it's a very, very rare card. Like definitely this, some F1 cards, some other cards that are, out of like 2020 F1, some other sets like that. Like I know 2021 Prism Football had some issues. So there are going to be some exceptions to the rule, but generally ultra modern cards, anything not vintage, an 8 is not going to be a very desirable grade. To answer the next part of that question, if the PSA 8 is a Pop 8, but there are 64 10s and 13 9s as you count on your question, technically the Pop count on that is all of those numbers added together, because you've got like 8, but there are like 79 cards graded higher. So really the Pop count on the 8 doesn't really matter at that point. It's the Pop count on the 8 plus the 9 and the 10 that you've kind of got working against you. So most of the time, just for the sake of this answer on this particular show, since we're running out of time, is that is not a very desirable grade, unfortunately. And that's why we're all really hoping for 10s, because we even know 9s on ultra modern cards. We're going to take a hit on the price, which actually leads in to the next question from Southern Soccer Idiot. This is a good one. This is actually a great segue from question to question. Paul, Kendall, do y'all think that a PSA 9 needs a 9.5 grade option? I think so, but get a lot of pushback on that from other more experienced collectors and or investors. Not surprised that you get pushback in this hobby, that's for sure. Yes, I do. I think PSA could use a 9.5. They've had an 8.5 in the past. I don't know if they've ever had a 9.5, but I think they could use it. I really think that would not hurt anyone, to be honest.
Yeah, I think a 9.5 would be good, considering what I brought up a second ago. But the print quality is just getting better and better. So, I think they're going to continue to have stuff that's close to a 10, and they're going to need to differentiate between what's a 10 and a 9.
Yeah. So Toa just kind of adds some of his expertise around grading from his experience. Grading really depends on the timing and the card. I agree. In general, if you have 3 months, then PSA. If you're trying to catch the hype in season with a month to go, and SGC, yeah, that's really well said. Kind of what I was trying to articulate as well. Good morning, Eric Stefano. Good to see you. Drop a comment when you watch the video back, and we'll holler back at you right away. But we're about to wrap up. Kendall, do you have anything else you want to add before we wrap up today's show?
I do have a couple of just unique talking or thinking points to take you into the week. Tatis Chrome base cards are up 100% in the past 7 days. So clearly the Tatis steroid stuff is not that big of a deal in the collectors' minds. They're up 100% in the last week. Additionally, Panini news might come out this week that Panini is in fact going to get bought by Fanatics, and if so, they're not sure what brands, what companies, which sides, is it just American Panini, etc. So look forward and talk about that in the future.
I look forward to talking about that in the future as well. That's very interesting. So we'll wait to see what happens with that. We probably won't have a hot take. We'll probably digest it and then come back to you guys with some strategic takes after the fact. So that'll be good. Thanks for the love, everybody. Everyone who's commenting, we really appreciate it. And thanks for also adding some knowledge. I'm just kind of showing some additional comments from you guys. Eric says he heard Nat T say they would never do a 9.5. And then we have Jason or another Facebook user. I really enjoy the podcast. Makes my 5 a.m. drive to work enjoyable. This has been fun, guys. This is episode 50 of the Sports Card Strategy Show. We're not stopping anytime soon. We're going to go to 500, I think. So,
hey, there we go.
Let's go, baby. Everybody, thanks so much for watching and listening. I'm Paul Hickey with NoOffSeason.com. He's Kendall McKee with NoOffSeason.com, Wildcards Box Breaks, JustBaseball.com, Ultimate Badasses of Everything in the World.com. Love him. Everybody, thanks so much. Have a great day. Kendall, I think you have one more thing to say, right?
Cue the rock music!